Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. Happy Monday. We are all excited to be here tonight, and we are delighted that you have decided to join us, Father. Oh, I was going to say Father God, but yes, he is joining us tonight.
Yes, indeed.
So, to all of you who will join in live or who watch the replay, we pray that you will get something from this conversation that we are about to have. But before we get started, we are going to do what we normally do, which is introduce ourselves and say what we are grateful for. And Gina, I'm loving that here.
Yes, girl.
So we're going to start with you
Oh,
tonight.
okay. I'm grateful that y'all loving the look. Hey.
Yes,
Um,
really.
I'm breaking out of my comfort zone, so what better place to do it than here? And I'm really grateful for family and connections. Uh, I'm grateful for learning how to appreciate my time, and how important it is to spend it with those you love, and not looking back and regretting versus looking forward, uh, with intentions on success.
Nice. Nice.
All right.
Sheila, you want to go?
Yes, I am Sheila Isom. I am a claims insurance professional, and I am also an entrepreneur. I am an independent stylist for Color Street. We sell nail polish strips, and I am also a notary public. And I am grateful for periods of cleansing. And I say that because out of the blue over the weekend, I had a moment that brought me to tears thinking about my late mother and father. My mother passed away in 2002, and my dad passed away in 2021. And while driving on Saturday, and I trust you, and believe me, I still, was able to get to my destination. I just broke down, and I realized that it had been a while since I did that. And I think a part of me was also feeling guilty because I hadn't released any of that in a while. And I am grateful that I had that moment because it reminded me of what my parents meant to me, and that they are still with me.
Wow,
That's
nice,
beautiful.
nice, nice. All right, so I am Theodora Carter. I am a certified life coach. I help women navigate the twists and turns in life so that they can live a life that they desire and deserve. I am grateful tonight to be here, just to be here. I am grateful for, just being able to get through today. This is a busy week for me, but I am grateful that I am here, and I am grateful for these two ladies right here. And so I'm ready to jump into this conversation. And Sheila, I think you kind of set it off for us because honestly, I think what you just expressed really kind of brings us into our topic, right? Of the power of resilience, right? So I always try to get a definition, right?
Yes, yes.
But and so the definition is the ability to navigate through adversity, to effectively adapt to change, and thrive, to bounce back in the face of adversity. But it actually, the one I like most is the core strength you use to lift the load of life.
Wow. Say that again, Theo.
The core strength you use to lift the load of life. Right. And to me, that was the definition that resonates, right? Because I always look for the thing that's going to be plain and simple
Right.
that people can identify with, right? And to me, I feel like that really describes what it means to be resilient, right? Because every day we're dealing with something, right? No matter how big, how small, that we need to bounce back from, right? And a lot of it is just how we navigate life,
Right.
right? And so when I said that, you both look like, say that again. So what made you like react like that?
And it's funny how things will happen. And I can remember the chain of events. I'm driving home and I had my water bottle, and the water bottle, as I was lifting it up, hit my gear shift. So the water splashed all over me. So now my dress is wet. And of course I yelled something, right? And then all of a sudden my parents just came to my mind. And from there, and I guess there could be some correlation between the water that came out of the bottle and now the waters that are, the tears that are flowing from my eyes. And I can't explain it, why it just hit me all of a sudden. It's like, what do my parents have to do with me spilling water on myself? Um, and I just used the remainder of that time just crying and trying to figure out, and hoping. I guess that little girl in me came out, because I can remember, and it goes back to actually when we were first in starting this show, and when my dad had passed away, and the first thing I thought about is, wow, I am now, along with my siblings, and a childless adult. I mean, a parentless adult. Right. And that's something where, it's kind of the order of things. The parents are supposed to go before the children, but you never want it to happen. And even when it does, you don't think about it. Because even though my mom's been gone for so much longer of a period of time, to lose that last parent really, really just deepens that hole that you have inside of you. But at the same time, you realize more so that it's important to hold on to those traditions and the memories that you built as a family. Those core values that your parents instilled in you are still the same things that they want to see you carry on with when they're no longer here.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Gina, what's your take on it? Like when you think about resilience and just, you know, how you navigate and lift the load, right? Um, what how has that translated for you?
Well,
I
it
think you have a little background noise too.
yeah. Let me handle that real quick. All right, we good. Okay. So when I think about resilience, I actually think about the last 10 years of my life, and in particular, um, 2018. Between 2017 2018, it felt like everything collided at the same time. I had serious issues in my relationship. I had a serious issue in my job, and I had a serious issue as a woman. And it felt like all three of those things collided. And I was like, wait a minute, one of these issues are enough. But then to have all three be an issue at the same time, I was like, what in the world is happening right now? And I didn't know that I had the resilience initially, to be honest. And it for me, my resilience came from my faith. I I've reconnected with the word in me, and then I started reading more of God's word about the situations I was in, and even um, how to get through it, how to navigate through with everything. I was dealing with my identity and transition, and what what does that mean as a woman going through premenopause and menopause, then relationship acting crazy, and then the career hit a big road bump? And I'm like, well, what? And the more I started praying
Mm.
through the frustration, through the challenge of dealing with the new realities, um, the more I started relying more on my faith that never left. But sometimes when we get busy having that career and being about our business with our relationships, and everything's going good health wise, we're not some. I can't say for everyone, but for me, I was so busy thinking I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be going hard for this job because it's going to help level up. It's going to help my family. um I'm supposed to be doing all these things, trying to be extra, in my relationship, and I'm definitely supposed to be, my health. I'm not really looking for anything to go wrong because I've been doing more or less what I'm supposed to do. So even though I'm saying thank you, I say my prayers and stuff, but sometimes you get away from it when your projects get big at work and you got all those things happening. When all of that stopped, it was like the father was like, I'm gonna need you to fall back and revisit some things. And so my resilience came from the strength of his word, knowing what he said about me versus what I thought. Because sometimes we could be on ourselves hard when the things that we thought was supposed to work for us don't work. Then
Mm-hmm.
now we beating up on ourselves. We making ourselves the bad guy in every scenario. And he's like, no, 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 don't do that. This is an opportunity to look at some things, to review some things, to know that I'm gonna give you what you need to overcome some things. So for me, the resilience came from not only revisiting where my help and my shift comes from, but learning not to leave him again, and not to stray too far to the left because I'm caught up in, oh, I'm doing good now, oh, I'm in a flow now. Not to remember to stay in his word, to make time for him like I made time for everything else. He should have been the first priority. And knowing that by him being the first priority, he covers me in everything that I'm involved in. So trusting in God first versus the job versus the relationship versus what's happening with your body, trusting in him first takes care of everything else. Because then my resilience, I started to calm down. I started to look for ways to serve and to do something even in the midst of what I was dealing with. So my resilience came from my faith.
And it's so funny, right, that you say that because I think I was probably going through, a lot too. Like I think mine started in 2016, right, when I found my dad, in his apartment dead, and then just back to back loss. But and by 2018, right, when it just like things just like really hit, I broke up with God. I was like, you know what, Lord, I don't even know what to say to you. I don't even know how to say it, right? And I literally had to reach out to friends to ask them to pray for me because I was like, you know what, I really don't know what to say. And although, of course, I broke up with him, but I was I was still talking to him to tell him that I broke up with him. Right. So, but but I think for me, it then happened like that too, right? Because part of it was, the taking a step back to processing, to figure out who I was, what I'm doing, right? But then, like you said, I then realized that I really had to get back deeper, right, in the word, right? I had to, just really be real. But I think for me, what was helpful is knowing that we serve, or at least I serve, if you're a believer, right? We serve a God who we can be honest with. So I
Yes.
was able to say, listen, I don't really know what to say to you right now. I
Right.
feel like I have lived a good life. I feel like I have been a good person. I feel like, I'm riding the straight and narrow, but I feel like I'm getting boxed like
Hmm.
boom, 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 right? And one of the things I didn't realize at the time was, and it came from coaching, right, and from therapy first, and then working with a coach was I literally probably for years have struggled with functional depression,
Good.
right? And I think I managed it. Like I function well in that functional state, but after being hit so many times in 2008, like I couldn't get out of it. Right. And I honestly think that was the point where God was like, and I'm gonna put you in a place where, yeah, you might be a little upset with me right now, but I need you to go through this, right? So when I bring you out, what's gonna be on the other side, right, is gonna be so much different, right? But it's interesting, right? How your resilience can come first of all from the same thing, but maybe not at the same time,
Right.
right? So one of the things, right, when I think of resilience, and I'm not sure how you guys think about it, is right. For me, I feel like, do you think it is a skill or a strength or both?
I think both. What do you think, Sheila?
Well, I was getting ready to say, I think on the surface, you equate resiliency with strength automatically, right? If I'm going to be able to stand up and to navigate through this, I have to be strong. Um, but whether or not it's something you can actually master remains to be seen for me. But I do think that eventually you develop that skill on how to be resilient, or at least to recognize when it's time for you to put those things in place that will allow you to be resilient.
Right. And I also think, as it relates to it being a strength or a skill, I think it's situational as well. For instance, you could be at work and maybe you were doing a project and that project didn't go as you thought it would, and you had a meeting and you had a debrief and you were given some certain things. So in that situation, your resiliency to bounce back from, okay, so this happened, but what I'm going to do next time, I'm going to level up. So in that situation, is work related. You have certain parameters that you need to meet, and so you take those on and you hit it, boom, boom, boom. So the next time a similar project or opportunity comes, you're gonna knock it out the park. So there may be some skill involved with that because you have to know the job, right? To In order to navigate that. So now your resilience is your ability to say, hey, I may have not done as well in that area for this project, but for the one coming up or the one we just finished, I knocked it out the park. So that was being resilient. But I'm also with Sheila in the sense that we still have things to experience. We're still breathing. We're still living. So we know not yet the things that we're going to encounter where our resilience is going to come into play. And whether that be us being strong or being a skill, I think it really depends on that this experience we're having at the time. I do think there is strength. Um, Anytime we've overcome a thing, we've learned that we're stronger than what we thought we were when we go through and overcome it. So I think that's where that strength comes, and that's layered over different experiences as we continue to grow. We hit those levels. Um, I think the skill may come in our ability to bounce back quicker. So our resilience allows us to overcome a thing faster than we would have in the past because now we see certain patterns, or
Mm.
now we are aware, okay, this seems like this is happening. How do I need to shift or to and adjust in that situation? So I think they both are very relevant, and depending on the environment, the resilience could be situational. And that's where you may be using your skill. But I definitely believe in all those things. Strength comes into play because you've grown each time you've overcome a thing.
And you know, it's funny because I lean more towards it being a skill, only because I think because of the journey I've been on, I really got away from and don't like to use the word strong as it relates to a woman, right? Because I feel like in some cases, when we identify with being strong, at least for me, it puts us in a place where we feel like we have to take on everything and not say to people, because I mean that was me, right? When people are like, how you doing? I'm good, I'm great, right? I'm good, right? I'm handling, I'm managed, right? Because I'm supposed to be strong, right? So
Right.
but then that makes me think of, right, strong versus strength, two different things, right? There's a difference between being, you know, you being strong and between how you just described you gaining strength from a situation that you went through, right? So, but I do believe that resilience, like everything else, because you know me, I'm big on intention, right? Is definitely something that we have to like practice and be intentional about building, right? So how would you say you have built resilience through your journey, your life journey, right? We're all what, in our 50s, I think, right?
For sure.
So
Just speaking for me, I ain't gonna tell nobody else. But I'm definitely in my 50s.
listen, I'm proud to say I'm 57. I'm nearing 60, honestly. But yeah, so talk to me about how you have through your life journey, right? Um, built resilience.
I think that it's because you don't really have a choice in the matter.
Mm,
You are either going to stand up in the face of adversity, you're going to totally fall and falter into everything else that you do in life. And, you learn because it could be something really, really small that you realize that you have to face
mhm.
that challenge on, or it could be something extremely monumental that you don't think that you have the strength or the skill or the fortitude to even continue on to tackle it. And then you realize that if you take it bit by bit, that you can overcome that particular hurdle. And it wasn't probably as big as you thought it was. It may have been major, but it wasn't something that you could not overcome. And it wasn't something that would keep you from facing the next obstacle in your life.
Mm. You know what? It's funny because as you were talking, right, what popped into my mind is I remember every detail of the day that I found my dad, and I remember my aunt opening the door and saying he's on the floor, me looking in, me walking back down to the hall and just sliding down the wall
Mm.
in the hallway, right? And the first thing I did was call one of my really close girlfriends, mentor, prayer partner, Dr. D.C. Marshall, right? And I was like, I need you to pray, right? And it's funny that what you just said, because at that moment, I was like, I can't do this, right? And then the next minute I was up and I don't know where that came from. And I was calling 911 and I was talking to all these people and I was like trying to find his paperwork and just going through everything, right? And then in the months to follow, and then the next year as things continue to hit, lost somebody else, right? I was like, damn, how am I gonna do this? Right. And I think for me, it really did come from saying to myself, you need to get some help, right? And I feel like people and I'm sharing that because I feel like people feel like admitting that they need help, right, is a bad thing, right? But I really think part of my resiliency, right, just from developing it because of the things I've been through life. But when you hit that one thing that you think, I can't get past this, right? I think that's at the point that you got to be like, all right, how am I gonna get myself and pick myself up out of this, right? And for me, it was therapy, and then it was coaching, right? And then it was just doing a lot of things, right? My journey to where I am. But I really do feel like it is that point of being aware of what you're able to really manage on your own, and recognizing that you don't have to do it by yourself. Because even in all of that, people are like, what do you need? Oh, I'm good. What do you need? Oh, I'm good. Right. And then finally I had to start saying, you know what? I need somebody to do this. Right. I need somebody to help me do that. I need somebody to, I need y'all just to leave me alone. Right. Because I'm tired of answering the same questions. Right. I just want to sit and be in my own space. Right. And so it's funny because I feel like in a sense it is a strength, right? But for me, it really was having to develop a skill to let other people help me, if that makes sense.
I think from your perspective, it absolutely makes sense, especially being at the industry you're in. It makes sense that you would frame it that way. And this is why I love this conversation, because um, people can get different perspectives from our different vantage points. And when I think about, you said, I think the question was overall where we are now as far as our resilience is concerned. Um, One of the things I learned is we all grow up with role models, whether we realize it or not. They could be great role models somewhere in the middle or what have you, but we all have those people that we look to. And so I remember saying, I come from strong women because my grandmother was. I used to look at how she moved, and I thought her to be very resilient. And I was like, so if I'm gonna be away, and my mom is resilient as well, but I looked at my grandmother because she like raised her children. Did she help raise her grandchildren? So and she dealt with stuff. And back in the day, they didn't always complain. They just dealt, right. So I was like, wow, that's what resilience looks like. But now I thought that way because that's what she was like. That was my grandmother. I'm a grandma babe. I love my grandmother. That was my first best friend. That was my everything. She taught me how to pick fresh produce and how to cook and how to cut a chicken. I mean, I could cut a chicken anyway, but I'm sorry, but she taught me these things, right? The foundational things, like. But I also saw her. Um, I also saw her suffer. And I thought that was also part of being resilient. So what I had to do as I became, now I'm grown, I'm a woman, I have family and responsibilities, and I have different challenges coming at me. I used to always go into my grandma box because there was always a way that she handled something. But then I said, but I used to always say, dang, but grandma suffered and she should have been treated better, right? I always used to say growing up, my grandma deserved to be treated better than this. Like, she deserved everything. And but at the same time, I saw her being strong. I didn't see her complain. She just kind of dealt with stuff. So I thought that's what resilient meant. You handle your business. You take the pain. You take the stuff, even if it's not your fault per se. Being resilient as an adult means you handle stuff and you roll with the punches and you don't really make a fuss about it. But now, as I got older, I said, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm bobbing and weaving too much. Like, I don't like that. Like, something wrong with that. Like, is this what resilient look like the whole entire life? Like, nah, something ain't right there." So again, I started, through my faith and through looking at her as the role model. What I got was she taught me a lot of great lessons, like a lot. I mean, her lessons still unpack. But the other thing that she taught me was that someone should have covered her where she
Mm,
didn't feel like she had to take on as much as she took on. And
mm,
so I knew part of that for me was in order for me to be resilient, similar but different, is to know when to say enough is enough and to know when to ask for help.
mm,
So to your point, Theo, one of the things that's helped me be better um in the strength of my resilience is that I knew at some point I needed to get help.
mm,
I needed help in particular areas, whether that was therapy or coaching or reaching out to my friends that I knew loved and cared about me, and it wasn't
mhm,
about judgment, but just being able to talk to them
mhm,
to unpack what was really, holding me down. Um, and of course, seeking God's word and reading His word. But what's helped me over the years is understanding that I didn't have to be silent,
mm,
because my grandmother was quiet with it. Like, she didn't complain. So I thought that's what you were supposed to do. You weren't supposed to complain. You were supposed to handle it. But what was happening on the inside was that I was going through it. I was like, oh nah. So then I realized, no, girl, you got to talk to some. You can't. You're not grandma. Like, grandma's grandma. You're not her. Take some of her stuff, but you can't do what she did the way she did it. You have got to use the tools and resources that you have at your disposal. She didn't have that. She didn't have the coaching and the therapy she didn't have all of that. I do. So use that. The thing that she had more than anything was her faith. And that got her through so much. But she still suffered because she didn't get to talk about it and process some of the things that weren't fair to her. But she dealt with it. And I was like, hey, that's what you do. And it's like, no, pull back on that. It's okay to get help. It's
mm.
okay. So I'm better at being resilient now because I know when I need to ask for help. I know when to say stop. That's not okay. That doesn't vibe with me, and I'm not receiving that behavior. Certain things I won't take anymore that I used to. I
Mm.
won't. The hard line is in the sand. You will not talk to me a certain kind of way. You will not. I will not let you say, "Sir, oh girl, you stupid." No, I'm not. Take that back.
So boundaries,
Definitely boundaries. Definitely boundaries. Yeah.
right? Right? Like, and it's funny because and I'm gonna toss this one at you, Sheila, right? So, as I was kind of like preparing, and half of the time we're not prepared. Um, one of the one of the things,
Transparency.
yeah, but that's the beauty of the conversation,
We be
right?
ready. We don't know it, but we be ready.
Right,
Uh,
right.
is they were like there's these four attributes, right, that were coupled with resilience. One was awareness, which I think we all touched on, right? Self-control, right? And I mean, I think that's something we all have to, we all probably had to work on. Problem solving skills, I would say we all have had to navigate and solve some stuff to get through this life. And then social support,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when the boundaries things, yes, I am the center. We talk about boundaries a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, it like is definitely necessary, but how do you factor in, right, that social support, right? That those individuals, as some people would say, who are in your tribe, right? That and for me, my tribe, I need people that are gonna hold me accountable and check me when I need to be checked, right? So when you think of your tribe, right, Sheila, what does that look like for you?
It depends on the situation because I have quite a few great girlfriends, quite a few sisters, right? Um, different crews, and each crew serves um, a specific purpose in my life. Um, each individual within those crews has a specific place in my life. I've gotten to a point where I know just who I can talk to
Mm-hmm.
about certain things. But I also know that the people that I have attracted in my life and those that have allowed me to be a part of their lives are the ones that are also going to allow me to be open, to be vulnerable, to look for them, to them, for the strength and support, whether it is giving me words of encouragement, holding me accountable, or just listening, right? Because
Mm.
sometimes there's nothing that you can say. Sometimes you just have to be, just be there for that person and hear them out, right? Because then that's how you turn around. You can turn things around when you look for that social support with the right people. Like you can't nowadays. You can't go in there and just sit in the bar or go in a club and expect you're going to get what you want out of it, right? You know how they say you can't talk to a single person about married person's problems, right?
Mm.
So you have to be able, you have to be so in tune with the people that you attract in your life that you know who you can go to and who you can discuss things with. Because I honestly, I don't have that kind of energy anymore to sit there and decipher who's my friend and who's
Mm.
not, who's the one person that, because you know, if I can break bread with you, I can pray with you.
Mm.
That's how I look at things, right?
Mhm.
If I can go and have a drink of wine with you, I can also go to revival with you.
Mm.
All right.
So because that is the kind of person that you are in my life, and that's who I have attracted. Just like when we all get together, like our conversations after this conversation, sometimes we're sitting up there, we're looking at the clock, and it may often spawn the next topic, right? But
Yeah.
we have a show after the show.
Yeah. The show after the
The
show.
show is just for us because of what we do for each other and where we are in each other's lives. And that's because God has placed us together because we're all like-minded. And I
Mhm.
know that I can talk to you about everything collectively and individually. And there's no judgment. You're
Right.
not going to tell me, Sheila, just take it on the chin. Sheila, get yourself together. You're either going to hear me out or you're going to pray and lay hands on me from afar.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. So, for those of you who are joining in, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We are all Gen X, and I'm proud of it. And we are here just to, just through truth and transparency, share and hopefully educate and help somebody. And we are welcoming in the other part of our
Yeah.
crew. Netta, how are
Hey,
you?
Nana.
Hey.
Hi, my sisters. How's everyone doing tonight?
We are
Good.
well.
We're
We are
good. We're
well.
good.
So we were talking about the power of resilience, and I had just asked Sheila and Gina, of these four attributes I found, what their thoughts were around the social support aspect of resilience being one of the attributes.
Social support.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, of course, we are not designed to walk this life alone. And so when I think of social support, because I'm a relator, that means something different than maybe others. Social support for some may mean being out front, outspoken on social media and gathering information that way. But for me, that's going to be those I'm closely connected to.
So back up a minute and tell people what that means to be what that means relator.
A relator is an individual who thrives in small group settings, has a very small, tight circle. They're not the person that's going to cast the net wide, open the front door, and let everybody come in for the social gathering. That's not going to be the case. It's going to be a selective few that have been vetted. They are trustworthy, right? So that's what a relator is. So I am that person.
How did you find out you were a relator?
I'm a relator based upon the fact that I took the Clifton Gallup Strengths Assessment, the 2.0, and Clifton Gallup Strengths Assessment gives you a bunch of questions that you answer brutally honestly so that you can get the actual results that you desire. And there are 34 strengths that it will rank 1 through 34. So your top 10 to 12 are the way that you operate. The bottom ones are the ones that you really want to be aware of and don't do, because that's not who you are. My mentor says that's where you get weird. You try to be somebody. Just be who you are. Be who God created you to be. And I used to, as a relator, you can be made to feel a little weird because you're not the one that's jumping in the middle of every conversation. We can be observers. You may see us in the room on the periphery, taking things in, having those one-on-one conversations. That's a relator. And I embrace that now that I know what it is, because I'm amongst people who are the life of the party, bring everybody over, come on. And I'm like, why did you do that? It's not that I have a problem with everyone. It's just that I need it in small doses because I literally have to take a nap after a gathering because it's just draining for me. So long story short, that's a relator. So for my social network, it's going to be a more intimate group of people on a smaller scale. And our conversations usually go pretty deep. Like you just mentioned, the after the show, because again, it's a small group and I can trust you with what I'm saying.
And how has that helped you with building resilience?
Building resilience, of course, you gain that through experience and experience of others. Those I'm observing. I just told you I'm an observer. So observing people's responses in certain situations that can kind of guide me in my own. And then we all have those circumstances where no one we know has been through it. And with that, you find a way to persevere.
Mm-hmm.
Resilience, if you give up, what good does that do? So I have to persevere to see what's on the other side of the trial. I know that there's a rainbow after the storm, so I just got to hang in there long enough to see the good and the lesson that I'm to gain through whatever trial or storm that may be. So as a relator, I have my core group who are going to go on their knees and pray with me. They may not have the answers, and sometimes I'm not looking for an answer. I'm looking for somebody to just link arms with me and walk through the storm. So I don't actually get blown away or feel like I want to give up. I got somebody to lift me through that situation or circumstance.
All right. So now real talk, right? So we all came to know each other because we all went through something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we are all connected through one person, right? Who either whether she's a friend or she was our coach.
Right.
We ended up here, right? And so talk to me a little bit about how resilience has impacted your journey to success, right? Because we're all moving, like we all came in one way, right? And now we're all doing something different, right? Like, entrepreneurs, starting businesses, right? So talk to me a little bit about how, resilience has played a part in your success.
Just me or?
Everybody.
Everybody, okay.
Everybody want to take it.
Oh, okay. I'll go. Okay, so like just being here right now, I think resilience has played a role because once I went through some of what I thought was the roughest period in my life that I did not think I was going to get through, I didn't know how. I thought I was going to be stuck in this like vortex of hurt and pain and, betrayal. Just little by little, like Netta was saying, like just taking one step in front of the other. They weren't big steps at the time. They were like little, and then they got better. Then the resilience was the strength of community, and talking to those trusted few, and then getting the help that I needed. So I think once I realized I got through it, and I found my laughter again, and I found my the joy that I just, if anyone knows me, I'm always a consummate optimist. And during that period of going through the trials that I went through, that was not what you saw, right? The optimism of it's going to get better, things are going to be all right, and that wasn't there, because I thought I was just not ever going to recover from my experiences. However, I am 100% so happy that I just didn't give up and lay my hands up and just fold over in the corner somewhere and say, "Forget this, I'm checking out." I
Mm.
I was fortunate enough to have enough faith to know that I needed to turn to
Mhm.
my faith. And when I started reading God's word about who He said I am, and I kept saying, "But now that don't match up, because look at what's happening to me." And then I was directed to the help that I needed. Um, Trey was part of that, and also getting the therapy and having tight people that I could trust with my tears, with my frustrations, with my. And so slowly coming through that, I was like, wow, I'm really on the other side of that. I'm not going to waste this. It was like I, I I made it. Like what? Like I'm laughing again. I want to help. I want to do this and help and be okay. It's time. Like part two. Like this is part two. This is the second half of the rest of my life. And
Mm.
and what I went through that I never thought I could get over. Hey, not only did I get over, but I've expand and I'm growing partly because of what I went through. The appreciation for going through the journey instead of being angry about the journey,
Mm.
and being thankful to know that I have real people. When you're going through stuff, you see who your peeps are, right? When you're going
For
through the
real.
thing, you see who drop off all of a sudden. You can't get a call or nothing. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
nothing had to come out. Couldn't get nothing. Okay, you find out some things when you're going through some stuff.
Absolutely.
So just I'm so thankful for the journey to make me realize that I did have resilience in me. I did, and I had the strength that I didn't know I had. Just going through challenges, you discover some things about yourself.
Mm.
You grow, and it's either you're gonna grow bitter or grow better. I've chosen to grow better because bitterness doesn't sit well with me, and so that's my two and a
Yeah.
half cents.
Yeah.
Well, mine kind of goes back to the four attributes of resilience is that awareness piece. Because most of us are fortunate that we've seen things but never really had to experience something until we were adults. But then there are some children that you are actually learning from, because there are some babies out there that have gone through some things that
Yes.
you as an adult could never imagine. So it's being aware that, number one, it's not just you. Things don't happen to
Mm.
just you.
Mm-hmm.
And you see somebody who, whether you were there with them to witness what they went through, or you're just learning about it as you're going through things, that they have come back, they've bounced back, they're on top, they have gone through the fire and they are still standing. So once you become aware that there are people that life just happens to, you see that you can get through it yourself.
Okay.
I love that.
All right. She done.
No.
And I'm like, all right. We're another.
I was looking at the definition of resilience, and two things stood out. It says the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. That lets me know there's a couple pathways
Mm-hmm.
with resiliency, correct? Some things you just got to endure.
Mm-hmm.
Other things you can tiptoe past those quicker, depending on what that situation is. And for me, and the reason that we're all connected, I learned so many lessons. Life taught me a lot along the journey of healing.
Yes.
I have so much more empathy for those that you may have been a little critical of. Might not have verbalized it, but in the mind thought, "Ooh, why they act like that? Why they?" No, when you go through some things in life, it can really shape you. And as Gina was saying, you get better or you get bitter. I'm grateful for the better, and I wouldn't have gotten the better had I not had the battle.
Hey.
So I'm just grateful that through all of this, I gained some incredible friends through you all. Trey walked me through the process of healing and what that looks like, and it doesn't look the same for everyone. So I'm just
Right.
grateful for all that I gained, even though it was something I would not have chosen for myself. God knew I could handle it. He trusted me with the test. And so, as we know, some people say you go through the test and come out with a testimony. I came out with not only with a testimony, but so much wisdom that now I can share with somebody else. When I went through it, I thought I was alone initially. But that's never the case. That's the enemy's tactic. Isolation and withdrawal is the way he uses, his tools and tactics to keep us stuck. But once you are connected with the right resources, and the main resource is Jesus, but once you connect with the right resources, then you can learn along your pathway, you can learn along your journey. And I would say, the worst thing you can do is to keep the lessons to yourself. Don't keep it a secret. You went through it not for you, just for you. It's for others so that they can learn lessons as well.
Wow. Okay. Ooh, so I gotta go after that. But anyway.
Yeah.
But it's funny because as you were talking, right, I was thinking to myself, right? Yeah, we're having this conversation about the power of resilience, right? But in all reality, back then when I was going through whatever I was going through, I wouldn't even thought about it being resilient. It was about survival.
Hello.
Right? It was about really and truly thinking to myself, you could either stay in this place, in this pit of wallow, or you could decide to go another direction. And I remember the day when I sat on the side of my bed and I said, you know what? I could stay here in this pity party, or I could heal, right? Which is where, my healing is a choice comes from, right? And honestly, it was at that point where I was like, you know what? I want to heal differently, right? I don't want to heal on the surface. I want to do the deep healing where I figure out. And I remember saying to one of my girlfriends, I need to figure out what's wrong with me. And she got so mad. There's nothing wrong with you in this. And I said, no, I know there's nothing wrong with me in that sense. But there is something going on that I continue to accept the same thing, right, from different people that I don't think that I'm worthy of, right? So it was at that point that I was like, all right, who is Theodora? Take away the executive title, take away the title of daughter, of sister, of friend, of aunt, of godmother, right? Who are you at your core, right? And that's when, for me, I began to peel back stuff. So it's funny because I also feel like there are so many people right now that have resilience, And like Sheila said, right, they don't think they're really managing through anything. But really and truly, if you are still standing, if you are still striving, if you are still trying to pull yourself up,
Yeah.
you're resilient. Because honestly, like as you were speaking that in my mind, I was like, you know what? All we all were doing was figuring out how we going to survive through this thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think each and every one of us was like, how we going to get through this thing, and then this thing, and then that thing. And then the unfortunate thing I hate to tell a lot of you is it ain't over. Right? Because there's always going to be something that we have to get over or get through or get past or heal from. But the beauty of resilience is, and I think Gina said this, right, is we learn how to do it better so we bounce back quicker.
Absolutely.
No
And
doubt.
I love what Netta said. What we go through isn't just about, okay, I made it, and now it's like, okay, but to share that to
Yeah.
some, and you'll know when. It's not that you get on a horn and you just be like, hey, guess what? No, you know, because some people do too much. But when you're giving that person to pour into, like and you could just it just, because we also have to protect our experiences too,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
We need to be.
Say that again. We have to.
We also have to protect our experiences, okay? And it's not for everyone, because everyone isn't at that level of maturity and appreciation to see that you're coming from a place of love to deposit, not to gossip and carry. So be mindful that as you do grow through something, and you come to that level of completeness. It's like, I feel like it's like when you play Pac-Man and you make it to this level, next level, but that Pac-Man's still gonna come for you. But if you keep playing, you start getting strategies. Maybe y'all don't know what Pac-Man is.
I was gonna say you just took some people to a whole
I'm just saying, I took to a level, but all I'm saying,
Say it.
if you keep playing and you don't give up and you learn some skills, even if you get knocked down, you know how to move and bob and do a little quick. Life is a little similar, y'all. We're going to learn some strategies along the way. As long as we don't give up, just don't take your last breath until it's supposed to be your last breath.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get up after that breath and you are still moving in that space, you still put one foot in front of the other, you're building your resilience, but you be mindful who you share your overcomes with.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like you just said, right? This is a lifetime journey. It doesn't stop, right? And so you have to build your toolkit, right?
Sure.
What are you gonna have in your toolkit that helps you along this thing we call life, right? The twists, the turns, the bumps, the lumps, right? First, it starts up here with the mindset, right? The positive thinking, and what's Philippians 4:8, right? That's Bible, right? Then it comes with giving yourself grace.
Yes.
Right? Having that compassion.
Yep.
It comes with emotional intelligence. We've studied emotional intelligence together, right? And then it really just comes to what? Being able to adapt, right, in the situation. Right. And so, again, another what I think is a powerful conversation on, just the power of resilience, right? And what it means to your life journey, right?
And I just even be like a part two, because there's acceptance, and sometimes the hardest thing to do when you're dealing with something is to accept that situation is the way it is. So what do you do in that space when this is the way it is? You can't change the circumstance. It's how you choose to respond in that circumstance, in that situation. So acceptance, I think, is part of resilience, because the next phase of that is, what do I do now that I've accepted that this is the reality that I'm in? Right. So then, what tools do I get now for my toolkit after I've accepted that this is the reality right now? How do I deal?
All right. So what am I saying? Join us next Monday.
As we have for part two.
Where we gonna talk about acceptance, right? But no, thank you everyone who joined. This is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We are here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are network that really is geared towards positive and transparent conversations, right? So we will share and be as transparent as we can be or want to be. But as Gina said, we do choose when we are going to protect our experiences, right? But for the most part, we lay it all on the table. So we are thankful for those of you who joined us tonight. We hope that there was something that was said that touched you or moved you or resonated with you. And we will be here again next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the New You Nation Network. And I think that's it, unless anybody has any final words.
That's it. You're good.
Oh, I got two. I got
some final words to say here. So, one of the things that we talk, we have a foundation, right? You'll hear us talking about this, a lot of things over and over again, right? Because it's just life. We talk about the accountability. We talk about the acceptance. We talk a lot about the journey. So most of everything that we do is part of a journey, becoming resilient, right? There are layers to it. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's the skills that you build up. It's the acceptance, right? It is a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the things that I want people to keep in mind too is, and because Theo, you and Gina kind of talked about this a lot, is that, I'm good. Get to the point where you say, I'm not good and I need help.
And know that it's okay. It's okay to not be good, and it's okay to say I'm not good.
Yes,
absolutely.
Vulnerability is one of those layers. Being transparent, again, a common theme, is one of those layers to resiliency as well.
Wow.
My two words were real simple. It was good night.
Oh my goodness.
I love it.
I will say this. Resilience doesn't have to look like a grand event. The fact that you got up to face it again today is resilience.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody. I mean, I think that's the main thing that we want to get across to everybody, right? Is we all have been through something, some of it similar, some of it not. But even in the things that were similar, right, the way we went through it and was different, right? And so your journey is your journey. What we're here to do, and hopefully we are doing, is to help you, like Sheila said, build a foundation. And I say a toolkit, right, of just things that you can say. It's like if you need to fix something in your house, right? You know what tool you need in order to do that. It's also having that toolkit. So when you're going through this life journey and something might knock you down, you know what you need to pull out of your bag in order to push you through to the next phase and journey through it. Right. And figure out what you need to do. Is this something I need to do it alone? Is this something I need to do with somebody? Is this something I need expert help with? Is this something I could just call a good girlfriend about, right? But you know, in all reality, we could stay here all night, but we all got something to do, I'm sure, after that. So we are going to say goodnight. We are going to say thank you again for joining us. And we are going to end as we normally end, which is by saying truth,
Truth plus transparency
transparency,
Equals
equal
healing.
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 Have a good night,
Night.
everyone. We hope to see you again next Monday, 8
Good night,
p.m.
all.
Eastern
Good
Standard
night.
Time.